Hey, this is Zach once again. Welcome back. We're continuing our California governor deep dives. We've looked at Tony Thurmond and Betty Yee, two candidates with significant public service resumes, yet some polling problems. Today's candidate has a deep resume and a polling problem, and a centrist pitch that is either going to look very smart or very out of touch, depending on who you ask. Candidate Antonio Vallaraigosa. Antonio Vallaraigosa is a Democrat, born in East Los Angeles, son of a Mexican immigrant father who abandoned the family when Antonio was a child. Raised by a single mother, he dropped out of high school, he faced a tumor in his spine which temporarily paralyzed him as a teenager. This is a man who has persevered through adversity. He eventually graduated from UCLA, earned a law degree from People's College of Law, though he never passed the bar. He spent 15 years as a union organizer, including UTLA, United Teachers Los Angeles, and the SEIU. He was elected to the president of the Southern California ACLU, then to the California State Assembly in 1994, where he became its speaker 4 years later. He served 2 full terms as mayor of Los Angeles from 2005 to 2013. When he became mayor, he became the first Latino to lead Los Angeles in more than 130 years. Now 73 years old and running for governor of California for the second time, he ran in 2018 and finished third. He describes himself as a proven problem solver. He's currently polling at around 5% in a race where only the top 2 advance. First off, regarding crime. According to the FBI, the violent crime rate in Los Angeles dropped 48% during Vallaraigosa's tenure, from 820 violent crimes per 100,000 people when he took office in 2005 to 426 when he left in 2013, nearly 50%. He also expanded the LAP to its largest force in city history, which is a lot of people were unhappy with. He launched gang intervention programs that used former gang members to broker truces between rivals and paid people to turn in guns. Regarding infrastructure, in 2008, in the middle of the Great Recession, Vallaraigosa convinced Los Angeles voters to approve Measure R, a $35 billion transportation package that funded new rail lines, expanded bus services, and began the subway to the sea that might be ready in time for the 2028 Olympics. It might not, but a lot of people deserve that blame. He also helped shift the Department of Water and Power from coal towards wind and solar. Regarding the budget, when the recession hit and revenues collapsed, he made cuts, negotiated hard with city unions on pay concessions and pension costs, and eventually, including layoffs, kept the city financially stable. He made tough choices. He chaired the 2012 Democratic National Convention. He was named infrastructure advisor to Gavin Newsom in 2022. Now on to the straight talk. There was an affair. In 2007, Vallaraigosa's extramarital relationship with the Telemundo reporter came to the surface. Then there was a divorce, messy and public, and Vallaraigosa has acknowledged it was his biggest personal failure. He has since remarried, but his opponents will use it. And let's talk about unions. Antonio Vallaraigosa built his career as a labor organizer, spending a decade and a half fighting for workers. As mayor, he negotiated pay cuts, pension concessions, and laid off hundreds of city employees during the recession. He openly warred with multiple unions. The former president of the firefighters union called him dishonest and a bully. Fire stations were closed. Response times went up, while expanding the LAPD, even as he cut elsewhere. Once again, not a great look right now. His supporters will say those were the hard choices that were required. His critics will say he made workers pay for a fiscal crisis they didn't create. In a Democratic primary in California, labor unions are some of the most powerful endorsing forces in the race. And then there's the oil money. Vallaraigosa has received campaign donations from Chevron, Marathon, California Resources Corporation, that would be the state's largest oil and gas producer, and executives from Kern County drilling companies. He claims he isn't protecting oil companies, he's protecting working families who can't afford expensive gas, which is exactly what an oil company would want him to say. Vallaraigosa's entire campaign suggests California needs a problem solver who can work across the aisle. His energy policy is the clearest expression of this. He calls it all of the above: solar, wind, geothermal, nuclear, natural gas. He wants to protect California's remaining oil refineries from closing, arguing that if California loses its refineries, gas prices go to $10 a gallon and working families get crushed. I would say welcome to Donald Trump's America. Now, nuclear energy has serious progressive advocates. Keeping refinery capacity while transitioning to renewables is a position that reasonable people hold. The idea that California's environmental regulations sometimes hammer working families while barely touching the wealthy is a fair point. But here's the question I keep coming back to. This is 2026. Trump is in the White House. We have bombed Iran. The federal government is dismantling environmental protections, gutting public agencies, and threatening to roll back everything California has built over 50 years of progressive leadership. Is this the moment California wants a centrist? Because centrism, in a normal moment, can be wise. Centrism in a crisis can look like you're looking directly at the train about to hit you. And Vallariagosa's critics will argue that his all-of-the-above energy pitch, funded in part by fossil fuel money, is not a compromise, but selling out to the industry that is most responsible for the climate crisis. There is one more argument for Vallariagosa that's pretty darn important. California is 40% Latino. The governor's race has 8 Democrats, and Vallariagosa is the only Latino. For a state where Latino voters make up one of the most significant electoral blocs, and are bearing some of the most severe impacts of the Trump administration's immigration enforcement, that's not a minor point. In this case, representation matters. Despite all of this, Vallariagosa has struggled to break through. He has not landed a knockout policy position. He hasn't had any viral moments. He has not done the thing that makes a voter think, that's the guy. He's been a civilian since 2013. That was when Obama was about to start his second term. We've got a billionaire blanketing the airwaves, congressional firebrands, 2 Republicans consolidating their base. Is I was a good mayor 12 years ago going to cut through? Antonio Vallariagosa's record on crime and infrastructure in Los Angeles is substantive. His personal story is noteworthy. His argument that California needs someone who can govern and actually get things done is legitimate. But he is taking fossil fuel money while campaigning on energy policy. He spent a career in labor and then punished workers. He had an affair that ended his marriage and damaged his standings with voters. And he is running in a political environment where "I worked with Republicans" comes across as tone deaf. Do Californians want someone who reaches across the aisle or fights criminals and bullies? That is genuinely a question I'm leaving to you, because the whole point of these deep dives is to give you what you need to make your own call. He's at 5%. The primary is June 2nd. Please subscribe, share, like, and comment. And fight for democracy.